Hey, I'm Talia. I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. In 1981, I was born in the private with my inalienable rights of life, liberty, freedom, and privacy. The government suggested to my mum that she needed to register me with a birth certificate, so she did. She filled in a birth registration statement, and my mum thought she was just getting me set up as an Australian citizen. She didn't know at the time that by filling in the registration form, she was actually creating and signing a contract on my behalf. So before I was even 1 month old, I was taken out of the private world and into the public arena. The best way to understand the public is as a social construct designed to create order. The public is set up with rules and acts and legislation designed to keep a society running smoothly. Things like contracts, courts, commerce, rules, and all of these things are set up by corporations. They have rule books and courts. Corporations are like the government or the police department, are actually not living men and women. They're literally dead entities, like a company is. The one way to determine if something is public or private is if it's actually a man's idea or it is actually a living, breathing man. Point I'm trying to make here is that if it is in the public, it's dead. It's actually a super duper big no-no for dead entities to contract with living men or women. I mean, honestly, can a piece of paper really tell me what to do? Not at all. I mean, that is called commingling, and it's absolutely not allowed. So that means that the corporations have a bit of a problem. How do they contract with me? They do it through a straw man. My name was converted to Talia Rochelle, all capitals. They wrote my name in all capitals, like when you create a company. Kind of like a mirror version of me. It looks like me, but it's not me. By creating a mirror look-alike of me, the public world then had something dead to contract with. So throughout my life, I actually agreed to following rules in the dead public system. I signed contracts for my straw man like a driver's license or rego plates. I even got my straw man to pay taxes. A few years ago, I woke up to the fact that my ID is not actually me. And I began to feel like, what on earth has happened to my rights? What happened to my life, my liberty, my freedom, my privacy? Fines for doing things that didn't really bother anyone else. People in uniforms were telling me I wasn't allowed to have my money until I paid the government first. I was told to do things that I didn't want to do on my own land, and I was even being forced to do things to myself that I didn't think were safe for me. So I firstly wanted to throw it all away and tell the government to stick it. But then I realized I actually live in a straw world. My whole world is made up like this. So if I throw away all of my survival, how will I survive? I was so caught up in the public that even if I wanted to buy an apple, I would need some form of paper ID. I had a really, really big problem. The good news is that there is a way to operate in both the public and the private. But in order for us to do this, we're going to need to actually learn a few things about what is public and what is private. So, we are going to go back in time. So once upon a time, there were kings. And these kings knew and operated in a concept called equity. You've probably heard of the maxims of laws. These are things such as do no harm, or he who creates owns, or silence gives consent. All of these maxims are conceptual in nature and are phrases of truth. You'll see that none of the maxims tell you when something is right or wrong. They simply state truth. In common law circles, you will have heard of God's law or the law of the air. Today, this is called equity. It is the spirit or nature of law. So the king was privy to the maxims of law, and the elites knew how they all worked, but the masses didn't know. So in an attempt to manage their kingdoms according to the maxims, the kings would get kingsmen to translate the maxims in a way that allowed the common folk to understand right from wrong. So in order to take God's law down to the public, to commoners' level of understanding and comprehension, the elite worked on creating order in the kingdom by doing laws, rules, statutes, codes, and they were black and white. They were right or they were wrong. So coming back to the idea of public and private, it's super important to remember that the maxim the private in equity, statutes are in the public. Above the laws is something called trust law. Trust law is under equity but out of the public. It's super important to remember how to operate. Trust law is all about a relationship, not about rules. The relationship is a settler, a trustee, and a beneficiary. A settler is a person who is in charge of the relationship, the one who sets the rules, and often the one who creates a trust. The trustee is a person who carries out the responsibilities of the trust. The beneficiary is one who receives the benefits. Every trust has some sort of value or property entrusted in it. Whatever the property is, it's called res. And there is a deed. The deed is like the rules of engagement for the relationship. It might say that the res is to be held in trust until the beneficiary reaches 18 or something. What if I was to say your birth certificate is a res? This leads me to another light bulb moment. Gold. The gold standard is a monetary system in which the value of a country's currency is directly linked to a specific amount of gold. In 1933, the president at the time recalled gold from the public, locking it in the Federal Reserve. In exchange, he supplied folks with fiat currency. Fiat currency is not backed by a commodity like gold, but it derives its value from government decree or public trust. You believe it works? I believe it works. Fiats are basically IOUs in the form of Federal Reserve notes. Commoners understand Federal Reserve notes as money when in fact they're called promissory notes. They are a promise to pay the bearer. Promissory notes are one form of financial instrument, another is called a security. A security refers to a tradable financial asset. These are bought and sold on the financial stock exchange. What if I was to tell you your birth certificate is actually a security? I know this can be quite shocking to learn, but the secured party creditor process is about understanding and dismantling different parts of this timeline. Firstly, we look at establishing who actually has the equitable interest in your birth certificate. Is it you, government, or is it the government? So we help you to form a case around your birth certificate being yours, not theirs. We also teach you how to operate in the private, in equity, rather than in the public. You will learn about trusts and who you are in the different roles. We're with you all the way, and we're really glad that you're with us.